Business was not what it ought to be, and I knew that very well. But the Lord had a very special message for me, and He wanted me to hear it. And one of the ways He got me to hear it is He busted me right between the eyes with a 2x4. And failure, when you're in a business like that, and failure like that really cuts really close to the heart. And many of you, I bet, have experienced that type of thing where you suddenly wake up. I've been down to Lake Charles, Louisiana. We were based in Baton Rouge at that time, and I'd been down to Lake Charles one night. I came back from work. I was tired, but my wife said, there's this preacher at the church. He's really good. I think you ought to go hear him. So I reluctantly said, okay, we'll go. Now that night, this preacher delivered a sermon which he called Heaven on Earth. And it was about the abundant life. Christians are supposed to have an abundant life, here on earth. That's what the scripture says. Deal a little bit more with that later. And although we had no serious financial problems at that time, and we didn't have problems with our children, they were all very small at that time, but my life could not be described as abundant at that particular point in my life. And I was desperate to hear what he had to say. And I want to tell you something, gentlemen, failure will do that for you. It will make you desperate to hear. Sometimes we don't hear a message any other way than when we've been opened up by a serious failure. Now there's a cycle that I want to share with you here that I think happens to all of us, sometimes over and over again. Here's the cycle. First of all, there's failure and frustration. That might be in your business, but it might be in your home life, with your family, with your wife, or something else where there could be failure. And so that failure comes along, and then this is followed by increased effort. We decide we'll work harder, we'll work longer, we will do more things. And then there is the next, when that doesn't work, there's the attempt to escape. That's what happened to me when I tried to get another job. And you might say, oh, well, I'll change jobs, or you could say, I'll go get a divorce, or maybe I'll relocate to another location where I can get away from all this problem and it'll get me out of this predicament. And then finally, we decide to fully trust and rely on the Lord, or if we don't, the cycle just repeats itself. I always confused calling by thinking that was something that preachers and missionaries got, okay? But I never thought that a businessman got called to that. And here's what I began to learn, that when you're born again, you're called to something. Your family outranks your work. Now, your job and family is a very important combination there, and succeeding at one without losing the other really is a great skill set. If you want to test that, if you have children, get somebody to ask them without you in the room, what's daddy's number one priority? Or another way you could do it is audit your calendar. If you got a calendar, and just see where most of your time goes. Now, an awful lot of your time, you're going to look at that and you're going to see, 60, 70, 80 hours a week going into business, and you got maybe 5 or 6 hours a week with the kids. Kind of tells you a big story there about how you're using your time and what the kids are going to think of that. Scripture also gives clear instructions to husbands. It says, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself for her. Now, I would submit to you, gentlemen, that if you love your wife that way and she knows it, she won't have much trouble submitting to you. If she really thinks, this man would die for me. Oh, what a powerful thing. My life all about the pursuit of currency, or is about developing my character. When I was growing up, I grew up in a very poor family. I lived, my bedroom was right next to the kitchen in a little house with no insulation. So every morning when my mom and dad got up to go to work, I could hear them talking. And the subject was always about money. We need money for this, we need money for that. And what happened to me as a young man is I decided I was never going to be poor. That's a dangerous type of commitment. It cost me, there were penalties that came into my life because of that. Now, there were some good things about it because I had a really, really strong work ethic. And, I was always looking for some opportunity to make a buck in an honest way. I repaired bicycles, I greased cars at the local filling station. I was a chicken catcher. Anybody ever been in the chicken industry knows what a thrilling position that is, to go out and grab all those chickens out and put them in coops and ship them off to the processing plant. It's a smelly business. And I think it was right in one of those chicken houses that I made the decision one night that I think I want to be a CEO. Okay, so character trumps competence in every case in a long-term situation. And I looked out the window, and out there was the Statue of Liberty. And, you could just sense that money was flowing through that whole place. Just tick, 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 millions of dollars. Very enticing. At that moment I had this thought, what's my life going to be about? Is my life going to be about money? Is that going to just to pursue this with all I've got, every bit of energy? Or should my life really be based on excellence, doing my work as though it's for the Lord. And so if you want to have a little takeaway here, I'd write down these words: family first, a model for a great leader.